Oh, 1, 2, 3.
You're very welcome along to the Brian and Kieran Warfield podcast, the ramblings of two Irish balladeers, featuring Brian Warfield of the fierce and mighty Wolfetones and his son Kieran, that's me, of the band Catalpa, and also of the Bandwagon Bus, Dublin's only musical ballad tour on wheels. So sit back, relax, grab a tea, coffee, beer or wine or whatever takes your fancy as we go rambling through life's misty foggy dew, through stories, songs, history, politics, life on the road and just a general bit of crack. Okay, very welcome along to the second episode. And this episode, as explained in the first episode, we're naming after one of the songs on the very first Wolfetone album, the Foggy Dew from 1965. So the second song on that album was a song called Down in the Mines. And that's a song I've just reintroduced myself to, and I love it. I actually love that song. I think it's really catchy and a great folk song.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's a Welsh folk song, and it was Tommy Byrne introduced that song into the group because Tommy had he'd worked around the folk clubs like we did in the early days, and he worked with a guy called Derek Scanlon, and both of them sang together, and both of them played guitars. It was a nice duo, and. That was one of the songs he had, so that was one of the songs he brought to the group when he joined.
And I think Tommy would have brought a lot of the more folky songs to it. Would he have on the first album, or was just that song off that?
Yeah, no. Tommy wouldn't have been. He would have been into folk songs, yeah, and he wasn't. Although he sang some Irish stuff, it wouldn't have been his main kind of interest.
Yeah.
But he loved he had a very, very good melodic voice, so he could sing slower type songs and all that kind of thing. So
I love
probably suited him.
Yeah, I love his voice on that album. And that album, of course, we spoke about it in the first time we did the podcast, but I fecked up on the sound, so we missed out on that. But the Foggy Dew album, of course, was through Fontana Records, and Fontana, you got signed up for 5 records, was it 5 LPs?
We had got a contract of 5 years, 5 albums. We never completed the whole deal because Dolphin, our manager, Oliver Barry at the time, they bought out the Dolphin, or they bought the Wolfetone deal for themselves in Dolphin Records, and we were with Dolphin Records until we formed our own sometime later called Triskel Records, and then I think they were all released through Dolphin anyhow. So yeah, it's we had that contract with Fontana, but they bought it out because they felt the Wolfetones were selling. We were selling huge amount of records at the time, and they wanted it on their label. And I think it was Jim Hand, Oliver Barry. It was Oliver Barry. It was Joe O'Reilly, and there was one other guy there, and they formed the Dolphin label.
Jim Hand, he was involved with the Furies, was he?
He was. He managed the Furies there for a while. But
I remember that name.
Yeah. But I think, from then on with Dolphin, we had huge sellers like at the Rifles of the IRA, Let the People Sing. They were all big sellers. So you can't even imagine that, like, back then, on vinyl, we could go nearly 800,000-900,000 pieces. And that'd be worldwide. And so, like, it's only after vinyl went that the sales start going down because people could copy them.
Yeah.
Like when the tape came in, you could copy it to another tape.
Yeah.
And so they didn't have to, but with vinyl, you had to buy the record.
Yeah.
There's no way of transferring or keeping it.
And it's great to see it making a comeback now as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's people like it. I like to feel, the touch, the whole product is something special.
I think I've downloaded 2 albums in my life, and I just don't like it because you don't have anything there. You know, it's
physical.
nothing to hold. Even as much as I do love LPs, but I just don't have the thing to start up a new collection or get a record player. But I love having a CD and reading the inlet on it and just reading about the songs, reading who wrote them. You know, I think, and a lot of bands don't make that effort anymore with that. They just put a quick cover on the front. I don't know, maybe it's not that they just don't have the money or whatever, but it's an awful shame because it's
not the same as an LP. I mean, when I bought my first LP, I can't even remember what it was, but it was like having something very, very special. And that's what LP has brought. I can't understand, like, people, you buy a bit of cyberspace and you've nothing at the end of the day. But anyhow, I guess time and things move on, and that's the way it is. And now it's streaming and all that kind of stuff. But we've gone through the vinyl. Then you had the big, what's this called?
8-track.
8-track machine things. And they brought out a little thing for a card you could play your single records on. I don't know how successful that was. Then the 8-track, then the cassette. Then we were told that CD was supposed to be the best everything in the world. I remember I got you all guys CD players.
I remember you bringing it back, and I remember you got this CD with it that played all these special effects like helicopters and stuff like that. We just sit and listen to it for the day. And then I think one of the first CD bands was ELO, I think it might have been, and just the sound of it, like, compared to having it in our headphones, in your ears, rather than having to be in a sitting room listening to. Yeah. But I do remember back to when we lived in Lucan, and we used to have Queen's album. I think it was The Day at the Races, was it? It would have been your album or Mam's album.
I remember I got Queen's album. That was the one with Bohemian Rhapsody.
It was called A Day at the Races.
Yeah. And I just thought that was amazing arrangement to a song. I liked all kind of music, and to me there was only 2 kinds of music: good and bad. And that was a very special record. But we beat that. We won the BBC. We were number 1, and Bohemian Rhapsody was at number 4 or 5. There you go. So
I think there might have been a little internet conspiracy behind that, though, Dad.
Not at all. They were all running campaigns. That's what the producer said to us. Said, like, everybody ran campaigns. So it's not just the Wolfetones.
The Irish are very determined people when they get going. Anyway, it was a great achievement regardless. So Fontana Records, I looked up a bit about Fontana Records, and they had on their label at the time Frank Sinatra, Johnny Mathis, Kiki D, Joan Baez, Spencer Davis Group, The Spinners, Little Richard, David Essex, The Corries, Manfred Mann, and the Wolfetones.
There you go. What a motley crew.
But they went out of business in 1974, and they became Mercury Records then. But they were part of the Philips Group. I didn't know that.
Part of Philips, yeah. And, Jack Baverstock, who was the A&R guy for Fontana at the time, and he made our first record. And his claim to fame that there wasn't a week he didn't have something in the top 10. And amazing guy. But we went over to England and I think we played in the Galtimore Ballroom or something at the time, and we got a spot there it was just a break in the middle of when the show bands were having a break.
Right. Yeah.
We played, but we went up and did the record in Marble Arch Studios, which is a big studio at the time. Jack Babistock was the A&R guy, and we go into the place probably about 9 o'clock in the morning, and the guy says, now, says, let's hear what you got. So we go, first song, second song, third song, next. He kept playing next. So he kept doing them. So he said, is that what you got now? Yeah. So he said, yeah, that's it. And he says, we said, well, when do you want us to do it? He said, it's all done.
So you tracked it live, of course. Yeah.
We sang the tracks live, and I can still remember, like, with the mics in front of us, and he mixed it up, and he was up there in the box mixing it, and big studio because it could hold a full orchestra.
Yeah.
And the record was finished, in
a day.
In a day, yeah.
Wow.
The whole thing.
And what was it like hearing yourself for the first time?
We didn't hear it. He didn't let us hear it. No. When we finished, we finished that day, whatever. More or less, thanks very much, guys. And we didn't hear it until we got a copy of the record.
Wow.
And then we heard it, and then that was something special to have a record, that you could hear, what you'd done.
So how long did you have to wait in between doing it and getting it in your hands?
I think a couple of months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'd say that was, because I even remember, like, when I recorded my first few songs with Phil King down in Dave McCune's, who was a friend of Siobhan's, down in Balbriggan. And Dave had done Chris de Burgh, I think he was. So he did a nice little studio down there, and I think we only paid a few quid for whatever it was only. And but it was the first time I'd ever heard myself, and I thought it was great, even though it was crap. Like, but in my world, it was great. But I couldn't wait to get it, to hear it, so I could play it in the car on the way home from the studio. Yeah. But I listen back now and I cringe. But it was it was only our first time in the studio, and you learn every time you go into the studio. Like, you definitely
you do, yeah. But like we were very well rehearsed when we went in, and. We are told, make sure you have everything, right and in tune and all that kind of thing. And it's, when we heard it back, it wasn't bad. We weren't embarrassed about it or anything like that.
It's brilliant. I still listen to it to this day. Like, I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I love the natural sound in it, like,
Yeah. And then, the next thing, we had to go out there and try and get it played.
Yeah.
And, we had a guy who was the Irish representative, Leslie Mann. He was from Belfast, a great guy, and he was the guy that promoted it over here. And he told us, go around to the DJs and see can you get them to play it. So we used to go around. It was all sponsored programs back then. It wasn't like. The only mainstream RT program was Hospitals Requests, and the rest of them were all just sponsored programs, and they were made in different studios. So we used to go up to the little studios wherever they were. Myself and Tommy would go one way, Noel and Derek would go another way, and we'd have a list of fellas to go up to, and here's my new record, will you give us a little spin? And, we went to see them all, Harry Toolier, Gay Byrne, they all had shows then, and normally they give you a spin.
It was the first DJ that you remember that gave you a good plug?
I don't know. They never give you a load of spins. Like,
yeah.
You might get one, or you might get two if they liked it a lot. But overall, if you got enough programs playing, you could have maybe 4 or 5 players in a week.
Yeah.
And that'd be really, really good and top notch.
And do you remember your first time you heard yourselves on radio?
Yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah. Was it on RTE or local radio? Or?
It was no local radio at the time. It was
of course not, yeah.
Only RTE.
Yeah.
Just the one radio station. And we also got played on Radio Caroline, which is like the
pirate radio.
Yeah, the Pirates. Yeah. So, we got a good lot of play, and you know, a lot of people got interested in the band and in the group. It took a while, but you know, when you're out there with a record, when very few people had records in Ireland, people take notice, and we start getting called for gigs here, there, and everywhere. You know. Because they got to know who's these Wolfetones. Then we got a lot of television because there was very few groups like the Wolfetones around. So we got a lot of television, and then they put on a ballad show then, and we were anchor ballad group. They'd have the Dubliners one week and us the next week. Unfortunately, with a lot of them shows, because they didn't want to buy tapes for every show.
They were destroyed.
No, they overrun them with another show.
All right. So they were all lost.
They were all lost. They lost a lot of their stuff, and they lost Sean O'Reilly, a lot of Sean O'Reilly stuff. So, yeah, it was just a time. I'd probably try to save the expense of buying all the tapes.
That's a shame.
They'd overdub them or overuse them the next time for another show.
Yeah. So I remember seeing a video of playing down in, I think it was Goffs. Was it Goffs down in Kildare there?
Oh yeah, the Horse Place, yeah. The Horse Arena, yeah. We played down there, yeah. There was a series of shows done there.
Yeah. I've seen a video of that. I think it might have been 5 or 6 songs.
Yeah. I don't know where it is now, but someone put it out there.
I can't remember where it was, but it was really good. Like, you know, it was great to see the people's reaction. But a great place for a gig as well, because I remember going down to watch the Irish Snooker Masters down there, and it's a great place, obviously, for snooker because it's right around. But I always thought it was a great place for a gig. Yeah,
and it was too. And you know, we did a National Stadium down a good lot of times, and they used to have the stage at that time in the boxing ring.
Yeah.
And so we played that a lot of times, and I think some of that's around.
Yeah. It's a shame that that's not there. But the first album anyway, going to London to record that must have been a good experience for 4 lads from Ireland.
Well, it was in a way, and it wasn't in another way. We had little money, let's put it that way, but and
did Fontana not give you
No, we didn't get no big handsome sum to sign in.
Not even to feed yourselves. Did they not give you?
No, nothing like that. No, nothing.
So did you stay long in London, or are you just there for the day? Did your gig and?
Oh, we stayed. We as I said, we had a gig in the Galtimore or something like that. And that gave us a few bob, but I mean, it wouldn't be enough to. We went over on the boat, and boat and train to London, and then I think we stayed with my aunt in London, who lived then in East End of London, and we stayed in her place for the night to save expense. Then we went to Manchester. We had a gig up there in Manchester with another ballroom. And we stayed in Tommy's aunt's.
All right.
So it was cheapo all the way.
Oh, well, good experience though. So for the second album then, which was Up the Rebels, was that recorded live as well, or was?
No, in actual fact, we recorded that in Dublin in the Eamon Andrews Studios in Henry Street at the time, and that was before the invention of stereo. So what you had to do was you'd put down the track with a singer and guitar and banjo or something like that, and we'd be all singing together, whatever, into the choruses and everything. You put down that, and then you play that back, and you sang over that track. So if you wanted to add like a whistle or something to the track, it was put onto the track while they're playing the sack, and you're playing the thing. If you made a mistake, it could never be taken out.
Oh wow, that's pressure.
It could never be taken out because it's down as it is. Now, if someone made a mistake, I'd tell you, fuck Christ's sake, what are you? You know, and you had to go 3 or 4 times. If someone made the same mistake, it was like, you know, you get the dagger eyes from everybody, you know.
But that adds more to, like, that having spent time in a recording studio and seen how easy it is to make a mistake, and just now with computers you can just whip it in, whip it out, like, you know, you can change it, you can bend notes, you can do whatever, like, but that just makes it even more impressive, some of the sounds that you got from the early albums. Like,
yeah, you know. You had to be really well rehearsed, and then, you know, you had to have a pint or two before you went up there.
A loosener.
Loosen the nerves up or whatever. But it was difficult because the first mistake, you know, the whole track was destroyed. It didn't matter, you know, anybody could make it.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be the banjo or the guitar or the bass or whatever, or, you know, and next of all, you know, he's mixing it inside in the thing while you're going along. You've no flexibility.
Yeah. Where did you buy your first banjo?
I bought the first banjo in McCullough Pickett's in...
I remember McCullough Pickett's.
Yeah, in Dawson Street, I think it was. And
I think it was
Dawson Street. And I remember we played... I was a member of the Young Folk Society at the time, and I remember we were called on to play with Pete Seeger when he came to Dublin.
Wow.
And we just to sing along with him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We wanted people singing along with him. So I was impressed with the banjo and the way he played it and the way he handled it. So I have to get one of these things. So I went to McCullough Pickett's and had a look at the banjos. They didn't have a great selection at the time, but they had a Vega.
Yeah.
And that's what Pete Seeger had. And it was a short arm Vega, but he had the big long arm one, which I would have loved at the time, but I couldn't get it. I probably couldn't have afforded it. But I went in anyhow, looked at the banjo, loved it to bits, and I inquired about the price and all that, and then, you know, I didn't have the money for it, so I got it on the Never Never.
Yeah. Was it expensive?
It was probably about...
Vega is a huge name. That's now Deering, isn't it? Deering banjos?
No, I don't think so.
I think Deering bought Vega.
Did they? Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
Well, you know, Vega was the thing, the banjo, whatever, at the time, and the folk banjo. But I had to buy it on the Never Never, and I remember Tommy Bone's father went guarantor for me. He went as guarantor. I needed a guarantor, and he went.
He must have had great trust in you. He
must have. Make sure you pay this.
No, fair play to him, though.
Yeah. And my dad will be down after you. But anyhow, he went guarantor. I got the banjo. I was learning how to do it and everything else like that. It was just... I had tried the banjo beforehand. I had a zither banjo that I had got somewhere or other, but this was the real thing. And funny enough, it was stolen down in Carlow on me. And
was that at Carpenter's Bar?
Carpenter's Bar in Carlow. It was stolen. And about 9 years ago, I was over in London, and this guy comes up to me. I know who has your banjo. I said, what? He says, remember your banjo was robbed in Carlow? He says, I know who has your banjo. I said, I'll buy it back. I'll buy it back off him. So anyhow, I gave him the phone number and everything, and he never
heard.
Probably him.
Probably full of drink. He's like,
no, he knew all about the banjo.
Yeah, no, but he was probably full of drink and then had a bit of confidence, and then when he sobered up, he was like, "Fuck that, I'm not there."
He's not gonna.
I'm not phoning him.
Yeah,
get me arrested.
I imagine it could have. Well, he could have been the guy that took it. You know,
be worth a few bob as well, wouldn't it, to Vegas?
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, it was very special to me.
Sentimental.
So that was the end of that banjo, and
so I take it you still had to pay it off.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I got another one. I got a second-hand one, and I think by that stage I could buy it.
You were getting enough gigs.
Yeah.
So your first regular gig was when you played up the road here, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we used to go out for the weekends. We used to go out to Ballymount there to with an Olga. Tommy was a very, what would you say? He loved the mountains and hiking and all that, and he was a member of an Olga. So we heard there was a good sing song out in the Ballymount every
in the pub.
No, in the
youth hostel.
In the hostel. And we used to go out there, a gang of us go out there every weekend. And we'd have a session, of course. And on the way back then, we'd get the bus back. So we used to stop in the bus bar. Now, we were only kids.
In Blessman.
The bus bar. But we'd set up a session then again there in the bus bar. And, of course, Paddy, what's his name? Paddy O'Leary. He was the owner of the place at the time. He loved us coming in. Of course, we get the odd pint. We were only kids, but we didn't have enough money to get drunk. But if you got a pint, you were grand. And we'd sing in there, and then when the bus come, we'd go on the bus and go home. And that was a great weekend. So bit by bit, people got to know you. We were going to the flats every weekend and collecting songs and getting different songs in different places and building up a reputation.
Mm. And the first album has quite a lot of what would be termed as more folky songs rather than rebellion songs.
Well, we got a lot of those songs from my grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think she had a great collection of songs, and we got a whole lot of them from her.
Dicey Riley?
No. I don't know where I got that, but I remember putting the claps into it, and then everybody used claps. We were probably the first to do it around the scene. You know, we had a couple of resident places where we used to play. One of them was we started off in the Montrose Hotel,
right? Yeah,
and then we moved to the South County. Then we moved into the Four Courts in Dublin. They all became very, very successful. The Four Courts in Dublin every group that ever came on the scene played there, and everybody wanted to play there because we filled it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we had a various selection of different artists that would come on, including a Spanish dancer and a guitarist. She was Spanish and he was from Dublin.
Right.
And they called themselves Chinita and Ernesto.
He was from Dublin.
He was from Chinita and Ernesto. And they were great. They used to bring the house down.
Yeah.
We had Maeve Mulvaney, of course, and she was very popular with all the guys at the time. She was a good-looking girl. She was a great singer. She played the guitar. She had a lovely personality. She eventually married Butch Moore.
Right. He was a show band, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was...
He represented Ireland in the...
Pardon?
Ireland in the Eurovision, was he?
He was in the Eurovision, yeah. She married him. He was already married with kids, and they went to America they opened a bar over there. We went up to their bar, and I often sang a song up there. You know, they'd be up on stage, and I got up on stage with them and sing a song like that. And that was they had a successful life over there in America, and unfortunately, Butch Moore died young enough, and she died not long after him. She slipped on the ice and steps and died.
Genie. And where was that they were in?
They
America?
were in Massachusetts. They were, I think, it was up near. It was past Worcester. Can't remember the name of the place they had. But they played all around that area. They had a pub in that area somewhere. I was just driven there, so after the concert one night, you know.
So, Zoological Gardens, where did that come from?
The Zoological Gardens was a well-known song around, and I had it in several books. At the time. Like I used to research. I used to go to the National Library and research songs. I also I bought books and bits and pieces and bits of things, and
even back at that young age, had an interest in that. Yeah,
I used to go into the National Library in Dublin, and this is I'd go in there and I'd used to ask the guy, is there any books on Irish song and ballads? And they gave them to me, and you could go through them, and if I saw something I wanted, I'd copy it.
Right.
So a lot of the times I'd spend in there.
So you obviously had a love for music from an early age. I didn't.
Yeah, I know. I think you were supposed to go to piano lessons, and I made you sign it.
No, there was accordion lessons first.
Oh, was it?
With Mick Crofton down in Saggart. Was it Mick Crofton?
Yeah.
And then it was piano lessons with Cora, but I just rebelled against it because
you didn't like it.
It's not that. Well, I just had no interest in playing the piano. I wish I had learned the piano now, and I know you did get me to sign it, but at the time you
signed the document. Kieran Walker.
I remember.
Blah, blah,
I remember.
Against my father's wishes.
Yeah. No, and I do regret it. And you did say I would regret it. I would have loved to be able to play the piano. But,
and it's a great instrument for, you know. I think if you know the piano, you can turn your hand to any instrument.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think the guitar is similar to that. Like, if you can play the guitar, it does give you a good basis for banjo and mandolin and other things like after that. Like, I suppose the mandolin is very similar to the tenor banjo, and the tenor banjo is strung the same as a violin or a fiddle, but, you know, it's a little bit different. But it does give you that background, but I do regret it. So your interest from music came from...
Well, you know, I think family entertainment was the only entertainment you had back then, because, you know, television didn't come along for a long time in our house. Anyhow, I was probably 16 before we got television. And radio had a lot of music. We listened to radio, and we listened to the records that we had, the few that we might have had. So that was all music. And then apart from that, there was the sing-songs every week down at my grandmother's house, every Friday night when they all got paid. They went down to the pub. They come back from the pub, bring fish and chips home or whatever. And the sing-song would start. They'd have bottles of stout back and everything, and the smoke and beer going around the place, and everybody sang a song. So you learned a lot of songs in that way. I mean, I still see, I hear great songs that they had.
Yeah,
like my grandfather's a great singer. He was wanted all over the place because he was a great entertainer and singer. You know, he had great stories. He used to do the monologues like. The cremation of Sam McGee and, you know, all those great monologues. So was a very entertaining guy, and I think he instilled the fact that I could entertain when I thought of the way he could do it.
Yeah. And did you always believe from early that you would do music as a living, or did it just happen by the by? No.
Never thought at any stage that I'd be making a living out of this. I was enjoying what I was doing, but I never thought that there's a living in this. And I don't think we ever did at any stage, even when when we got more popular, it's just like, how did this happen?
Yeah. But were you afraid, did you work so hard back then because you were afraid that this could stop at any time and I need to make as much money out of it as possible? Or just that the gigs just kept coming and you were rolling with it?
Yeah, it was, it evolved rather than it was constructed. We never ever thought we're going to do this and then we're going to do that and blah, 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 blah. So the whole thing just kept rolling down the hill or up the hill, whatever way you'd like to put it. And one thing happened after another. And we got more popular than ever, as time went on. And, I don't think it was just because a lot of people say because the Troubles happened. We were going for years before the Troubles came in.
Yeah.
So, and we were very popular before the Troubles came in. So, the Troubles came on top of us, you might say.
Yeah. And there was still a lot of Irish rebel songs around before the Troubles, but after the Troubles then, it became a lot more things to write about in terms of...
Yeah, I as a writer, certainly, I made a decision some years when the Troubles started, the civil rights movement started, that to do as much as I can to assist the people of the 6 counties in their struggle. And the only means at my disposal was song and the ability to write it. So that was my way of giving support. When something came up that was, that was a horrific occasion or anything like that, I wrote a song about it, Children of Fear, it's about, the Price sisters were originally involved in that civil rights march. And I think after that, they were kind of, they took up arms and they were radicalised by the hateful mob that attacked them on that day. And originally the words were Children of Price. And I changed that because I didn't want it just about them, it was about something bigger.
About all children.
Yeah. And so that was Children of Fear, and that came about. And then other songs came about because of the awful events that came upon us.
Yeah. And can you remember what was the first song you wrote about 6 counties?
What happened? I think the first song was what's it called? With worlds of troubles and sorrows, with its wars and far foreign lands.
Must Ireland divided be?
Must Ireland divided be? Right. Ireland has made its contribution to peace and forgot its own troubles at hand.
Wow.
So I think that was the first one, and that was probably about 16 or 17 when I put that together.
Wow.
So I was doing bits and pieces all along, but I mean, even when we were in the Scouts, we used to write songs about other fellas.
Did you? So you were writing songs from an early age, right?
Yeah, they were kind of ditties, bits and pieces. They weren't...
but you were always writing?
Always trying to make up things, yeah.
Was Derek like that when he was...
No, Derek had no... At that stage, he wasn't writing or never thought of writing. I think I encouraged him in some ways to do it. But he hadn't written anything for years and years and years, probably about the 90s, 80s.
Yeah.
But I've been doing it all along because I loved creating a song, or making it happen, and then when I record it.
And you hear your own music, then I think it's great. I love it. I love doing it, and I would love to write a full album, but the problem with writing a full album of your own songs is no one recognises them, and we learned that from the first album that we did, which was Arise, and it was mostly all our own songs. Apart from the bit of fun we had with the Wild West Rover, as we called it. But still, I'm very proud of listening back to that. Now, we recorded with someone who wasn't really well versed in Irish ballads, Republican music, so he was sort of more from a jazz background. So I don't think he had a great interest in the actual recording of it. But fierce nice guy and done a great job for what we were spending on it. But working with Keeve brought it to a different level. Yeah,
Keeve has a studio up in the Nore there, and I've been using them for years and years and years. So, and he's very good at recording and putting it together. So, he's very thorough, and I think even if you sit down and you spoke to Phelan about it, you'd say like we became better musicians from working with Keeve. Because, but he was very good. He'd get the best out of you. Yeah. But he had a great ear for when you were doing something wrong. Like, you'd think, I've done that great. And Keith would go, no. and then you'd be stuck on it. And he'd say, right, let's go get a cup of tea. Take your mind off. And then he'd bring you back in and do it again. It definitely, improved our sound anyway. Yeah. Not just in an album, but in the live shows, we became better. It made us think about things differently as well. Yeah. Well, that's great. And that's the way, you evolve in music is, more experience you get, the more things that happen.
You're always learning. You never
stop.
You're never the perfect article.
Yeah.
And even writing songs now, I guess you're probably 1 in 6 or 7 are decent songs, and the rest are just, you end up in a pile in the corner. I still keep them. Like, I have a record I've got a book of songs that I've done. Some of them will never see.
I don't know how you do it. You do so much stuff. Like, I'm probably a very slow writer, and because I do a lot of historic songs, so it has to be really, really well researched.
Yeah.
So you can't put something into a song that's not right, especially when you're writing about history.
Or someone.
Yeah.
You can't get the facts wrong on that, because once it's down there, it
has to be right.
Yeah. So, say for the likes of Joe McDonnell, how did you get that information about Joe?
Well, funny enough, Gretty said that to me. She said, "How did you know Joe so well?" I said, "I didn't." And, I heard on the radio that morning that Joe McDonnell had died, and I remember I was very angry.
I actually remember you being angry, and I remember you going in to write it.
Yeah,
I do. Now, it's not a very clear memory, but it's there.
I was in bed. I had the radio beside the bed. The news came on. I got up and I pulled out a guitar, which is a guitar in the bedroom at the time, and I wrote a song. By 12 o'clock that day, I think the song was written. And I met Gretty. We had a song for years before we got to record it. I remember presenting it to the group at the time. They said, "No, we don't want to do it." So anyhow, years later, about 2 years later, I brought it up again, and we recorded it, and we were going to bring it out there on the album, and we said we better find out how the family think about it. So I met Gretty in the Gresham Hotel in Dublin. She came down to Dublin. I had a copy of the song for her on tape, on a cassette tape at the time. And I said, I want you to have a listen to this and play it for your children. And if you like it, we'll bring it out. If you don't like it, it'll never see the light of day.
Yeah.
I said, it's up to you. I don't want you to go through hardship again, listening to this story over and over again. So about a week or two later, she comes back down to Dublin. I meet her again in the Gresham Hotel. And I said, how did the kids feel about it? She said they loved it. And she said everyone she played it to loved the song. I said, is it okay to bring it out then? She said, if you don't fucking bring it out, I'm going to kill you. I'll shoot you. And funny enough, I met her up in the Fela there about 3 years ago. And I said to Grady, I said, did you mean that? She said every word of it. Of course she didn't, but I mean, that's like I think the kids were very proud of the song, the way it was put. And she just said to me, she said, how did you know Joe so well? And I said, I didn't. I said, he was right there with me writing it.
Wow.
That's what I felt, because I just wrote it. I was the pen pusher, just flowed into my mind, the whole thing. And you dare to call me a terrorist while you look down your gun.
Great lines.
Yeah, and
I think that creates a very powerful image straight away.
Yeah. And they were so liberal in calling everybody a terrorist.
Yeah.
Any Irish person who ever, fought for Ireland's freedom as a terrorist. That's the way it was put. And those that supported terrorism, as they call it, got run down for that. So it was a very contentious word. And they were getting away with it.
Yeah.
So to turn the table on them was, and you dare to call me a terrorist while you look down your gun.
Great words.
Yeah, how could they do that? I remember singing it for Mick McCarthy from the Embankment, and Mick wouldn't have been the greatest rebel ever. He was in the RAF, but I sang the song. We were in the dressing room, and we hadn't brought it out at this stage, and he just said, I sang it, and he just said, my God, he said, that's a powerful song. He says, you know what's powerful about that song? While you call me a terrorist while you're looking down the barrel of your gun.
Yeah.
He said, that's it.
Yeah.
He said, amazing song. And now he wouldn't have been a rebel.
No, not if he was with the RAF. But it is, them words are just like unbelievable. And I love singing that song, but I'm always terrified singing it because I'm always afraid I'll make a mistake in it, and it's such an emotional, powerful song, especially when I do it in front of the lads up from West Belfast when I'm doing it in the Ireland gigs. But I do love singing it. I do absolutely love singing it. My two favourite songs to sing are Joe McDonnell and Ireland I'm Free. I think Ireland I'm Free is a great song.
Free, yeah. Well, he was a guy we used to drink with down in it was Vaughan's and then Maloney's and Inchicore. And it was kind of our office for a while, because we no phones in the houses. And we used to use the phone down the pub to call people. Oh, yeah, we can do it on Thursday. Yeah. That was it. And someone would ring, looking for the Wolfetones. That was
your communication with the world.
Yeah, that was our office. And anyhow, Mr. Mac down there, a good old character he was, but I guess he was well retired. He was probably in his 70s, and used to leave him back down to his house. He lived down there in Turvey Avenue. It's all gone now, all them little houses. But we used to leave him down there, and the picture on the wall, which everybody had, it was a well-known picture of Padraig Pearse. Yeah. And Ireland I'm Free shall never be at peace underneath it. And he he was in the 1916, but I don't know how involved he was or whatever, but we never really discussed it that much with him. But the whole picture saw this old guy that I knew very well, his little smoky cottage or whatever, and the picture of Padraig Pearse, Sorrow and Love Free Shall Never Be a Keys. And that's the song. I just wrote it about him. And my experience of leaving him home.
And it's a great song.
Yeah.
And it creates powerful images as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes...
The unknown soldier, like, it's like... no one will ever know his name or what he did.
Yeah.
And so there's lots and lots of people. Tommy's grandfather, he never spoke about it to his grandkids. It was only after he died they found all this stuff up in the attic.
That he'd fought in the GPO.
Yeah. And that, one of the iconic photographs from the GPO, he's in that photograph.
Wow.
And so people didn't really boast or speak about it. I don't know why, but I guess, they're silent about their bravery or about their fight or whatever. But that's what the unknown soldier is. Yeah. And
it's a great song. I really love singing it. I do. Like, if anyone asks me what my favourite song is, I say that. Yeah.
I know Cahill, or my nephew, your cousin there, loves it too.
Yeah. And Phelan loves playing it as well. One of the favourites. So I guess we call that a wrap for episode 2.
Another day.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll play out with the usual song, which is what the episode is named after, and that is Down in the Mines. Some great harmonies in this one.
The tough, sturdy miner works hard for his pay. He works through the night and most of the day. But there's no one who works harder way down in the ground than Billy the pit horse, a slave to the mine. It's dark as a dungeon, it's damp as a Jew, where the dangers are double and the pleasures are few, where the rain never falls and the sun never shines. It's dark as a dungeon way down in the mines. There's many a pretty girl I've known in my life who lives just to be a coal miner's wife. A coal miner's wife must be hardy and strong, and should never worry if things should go wrong. It's dark as a dungeon, it's damp as a Jew, where the dangers are double and the pleasures are few, where the rain never falls and the sun never shines. It's dark as a dungeon way down in the mines. Now come all you fellas, your fortune you see. Don't bury yourselves in the mine so deep. It forms a habit and sleeps in your soul, till the blood in your veins runs as black as the coal. It's dark as a dungeon, it's damp as a Jew, where the dangers are double and the pleasures are few, where the rain never falls and the sun never shines. It's dark as a dungeon way down in the mines. I hope when I die and the ages shall roll, my body will blacken
thanks to everyone for listening, and don't forget to give us a like or give us a share and tell your friends about it and get other people involved, because the more people listening, the more we'll keep this going. All right, thanks very much. Take care, stay safe.
We'll meet again next week and we'll have another yap. Bye bye.